Today, do your cherishing fingers sometimes miss the mark? Maybe this new patch can help. Also, ew. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint, where we're all hopped up on the Olympics and the wholesomeness of sport.
And seeing if any of the triathletes got sick after they did 2 laps in the Seine.
And the wholesomeness of sport.
And Turkish gun dad, yes.
That joke is going to be impenetrable in a week.
Life moves fast, just like the Olympics. Logitech CEO Hanneke Faber sat down with The Verge's editor-in-chief Nilay Patel on a podcast recently, and while I'm sure you all tuned in to listen, we here at CheckPoint wanted to ensure that none of you missed out on their grim vision of the future. As you know, Logitech makes mice, among other things, and Logitech also has an innovation center, and recently, said center innovated the idea of a forever mouse, a mouse that you can use for the rest of your life. Now, I know what you're saying. Don't I already have one of those? Probably. We have a bunch in the office. This one cost $18 10 years ago, and despite a solid decade of use as a distribution nexus for communicable diseases that are transferred via touch, I'm not sure it'll ever die. That said, I do have $3 on June 2027 in the office pool, and the winnings are going to go towards buying us our next mouse. But this filth-encrusted plastic isn't what Hanneke Faber was imagining. No, her forever mouse, which is apparently not too far away, will cost about as much as a nice, not super expensive watch. Because it needs to run forever, like this guy. Anyhow, I'm not sure what a CEO's opinion of a not super expensive watch is, but sure, let's say this thing is going to cost a couple of grand and it's a nice heirloom quality mouse that you have to get serviced every 5 years and then you're going to pass it down to your kids. You know, the ones who play Fortnite on touchscreens. Would that be worth it? No. But what about, instead of paying thousands of dollars for a fancy mouse, what if you subscribed to it instead? Patel suggested that idea because he is an enemy to us all, and Faber responded with, possibly, meaning that now everyone's Logitech mice are going to stop working after the next software update, at least until you give them your credit card information. Finally, more innovative corporate thinking at the cutting edge of technology, just like HP.
Arise, Tarnished. It's time to read the patch notes. This time we're reading the 1.13 Elden Ring patch notes, so you don't have to. And you don't want to, unless you like reading the phrase, "will no longer stagger as easily," about 800 times, one for nearly every spirit summon. There are other buffs across the board with very few nerfs and a smattering of other normal-sounding fixes, like fixed a bug where the cherishing fingers magic attack sometimes did not hit. Terrific, but undeniably, the star of the patch, and that is not an exaggeration for comedy, is changed the default selection of the OK cancel prompts that show up when using the spectral steed whistle while the spectral steed is dead. The default selection position is now OK. So now, if Torrent gets briefly ghost killed and you attempt to summon him, the prompt will appear and you can immediately press OK to get on your steed and get out of dodge. Previously, you had to press left and then OK, which may sound easy, but when you're not even expecting the prompt, any amount of menu interaction is challenging when you're in the middle of being aggressively turned into a thin paste by an angry wicker man. I need you to understand, this is being hailed as a huge quality of life improvement, and yet I object to From Software's framing here because this was listed as a bug fix, as if it had been a little whoopsie that the devs only just noticed after 2 years, not an intentional choice players have complained about since launch. And speaking of nonsense patch notes, the Elden Ring 1.13 patch also notes they have, quote, fixed a bug that caused certain skills to perform differently than expected under certain circumstances. Which... great.
Do you know what game company isn't cool enough for the International Olympic Committee? Apparently, Nintendo. According to a report from Eurogamer, the partnership that brought us Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, a series that was always decent enough but actually sold way better than you'd thought, is dead. Why? Well, according to Lee Cocker, formerly of ISM Limited, the game development company behind the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games franchise, the IOC, which is famously notorious for making very normal decisions, believes it will make more money if they bring their gaming branch back in-house and move into esports and NFTs. I know the IOC loves tradition, but NFTs in 2024? Ugh. So does this mean there's no Olympic video game this year at all? Of course not. It's just instead of having beloved Mario and frequently fetishized Sonic, it's a mobile game, and there are 12 sports, one of which is running, but only the 100 meters, because more would be too hard, I guess. But you can earn an NFT of the enamel lapel pin of one of the Friggies, the Google-eyed mascots that are also hats. On the bright side, this does mean that Nintendo avoids integration with the Olympic esports events, which is good because I don't think Mario and Sonic Go to Riyadh, Peach and Daisy are forced to stay home would sell that well.
Yesterday, Bungie CEO Pete Parsons announced in a post titled The New Path for Bungie that the studio was laying off 220 employees, with another 155 being integrated into Sony Interactive Entertainment. Combined with the layoff of 100 employees in October 2023, this means that roughly a third of Bungie's employees have lost their jobs within the last year. Bungie's unannounced new action game is also being spun off into a new studio within SIE so that Bungie can, quote, focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. Hey, anyone with more experience in the game industry, when your publisher takes away your new IP, is that good? You know what? At time of writing, the situation is continuing to develop, and we don't want to comment on rumors since we're not actually journalists. What we can comment on with some element of certainty is the quality of the announcement itself. This is shit. And worse, it's actually too specific to have been shat by ChatGPT. For those curious about the tone of the announcement, Parsons uses the first-person personal pronoun twice. Once in the first sentence, this morning I'm sharing with you, and then again in the fifth paragraph to say, I realize all of this is hard news. Apart from that, all perspective and thus responsibility is collectivized and dissolved into the corporate we. Look, no announcement of this nature is going to say anything meaningful if it doesn't have to, but this is an unusually tall, shambling heap of corporate non-speech. I have no problem believing Pete Parsons wrote this himself, because no public affairs intern would have let this leave a draft. Nothing this short should be this repetitive. Any explanation of why a third of Bungie is suddenly gone is prefaced with enduring economic conditions, broader economic realities, and a broad economic slowdown. So whatever happened to Bungie, it was economic, it was apparently very wide, and it happened at least 3 times in 700 words. Imagine this is how you learned you lost your job. Imagine reading the sentence, quote, we were overly ambitious, our financial safety margins were subsequently exceeded, and we began running in the red, and learning that the man who wrote it is keeping his job. Imagine getting to the bottom of the document and reading, today our focus is on supporting our people. Pete, with its small bean lowercase p. Imagine learning he spent 4 times your average starting salary on cars in the 9 months since the last round of layoffs. In Widow Pete's defense, he's the one leading Bungie down this new path, so I guess he needs a way to carry all his baggage.
Do you know what Olympic sport we need? The CEO steeplechase.
I'm in. How does this work?
We chase them around until they are forced to climb to the top of a very high steeple to avoid us.
Nice. And then what?
Then we leave them there, because this is an endurance event. Coming up, Blizzard is considering bringing back 6v6 to Overwatch after changing the sequel to 5v5 gameplay, because if nobody buys their new pixie tight pants space girl hero, they're all out of ideas.
Legitimately, I think I've never seen the subreddit so excited about the Elden Ring patch as this fixing the spectral steed whistle.
I was gonna say, now, does it include all of the spirit summons not staggering as easy, including you but better?
No. They have not improved the mimic tier.
It's already too good.
Yeah, it's all the other ones were too easily. It's literally like if they're in the middle of attack, getting like staggered and interrupted. They've increased the poise basically on all the spirit ash summons. Some of them now are quite tanky, which is great because it's like if a player wants to use them, they should be good.
Yeah, well, because right now I believe that the meta is to really you use me but better as soon as you get it.
Yeah, that's what I do anyway.
I've never seen anyone else use any other spirit summon.
No, they're fun, they're neat, but yeah. But there's a bunch of stuff in the DLC, a bunch of sorceries or Ashes of War or special moves, things like that, that are like, oh man, this looks so cool, and you use it and you're like, that's it. And so there's a lot of buffs to things that were sort of
Mid.
looked cool and felt like they should be cool and were just not that cool.
Sort of underwhelming for
Yeah,
the
so
effort
now-
put in.
Yeah, they're trying to up the whelming value.
Oh, I love being whelmed.
Yeah.
I did enjoy some people in the subreddit talking about how their muscle memory is so locked in that now they keep canceling.
I was going to say, like, you have 2 years of, like, hardcore muscle memory. Like, people are definitely going to be, like, clicking left no matter what.
Oh, they also changed, in certain situations, there are summon signs to summon cooperators in boss fights. So in the base game, you would often find a summon sign outside of the arena, like just outside the fog wall. And so you summon and like NPC, like a storyline narrative cooperator, and then they show up and then you're like, great. And then you go into the boss fight. And in the DLC, there's 2 that their summon sign are in the arena.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, except the problem is the same thing as Torrent is you press the button and then it's like, boop, do you want to summon this person? Yes, no. While you're being wailed on by some particularly aggressive bosses, the two in specific. And so they've now changed those to be like the first Radon fight in the first game where you just pass over the summon sign and press triangle and it just summons them.
Oh.
Rather than, because there's one in particular, if you know, you know, the guy who yells. And the first time I tried to summon him, I was like, "Oh, here's the summon sign. Do you wish to summon?" Yes. And while doing this like tiny little menuing, the boss was just like, "Wham!" And I'm like, "Oh, guess I'm doing that again." So I'm glad that they've changed it, so at least that's a little bit easier.
Oh, that's good.
Thanks to Beej for the Forever Mouse story, which is a terrifying prospect that gives me the heebie-jibbles, and Cameron for marking up Pete's Bungie statement. He was like, "Hey, can I write about this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And he's like, "Okay, actually what I want to write about is how bad this statement is."
And it's like, great, channel that rage.
Yeah.
I definitely, I added some embellishment to Beej's story, I will say. I added the bit about the mouse being a communicable disease vector.
That's good. I like that.
I mean, they kind of are. I remember a time before the pandemic that Graham and Matt and I all had the same cold a week apart because we all used the same computer and mouse.
Didn't think about that. We're better about these things now.
Yeah, we're much better about these things now.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
I did not download the Olympics. What's it called actually? Hang on. Olympics Go Paris 2024. I considered it.
I can't imagine how that would make more money than a Mario and Sonic game.
Well, it's got in-app purchases.
So the Mario and Sonic game also had a purchase price.
So because this one's free to play, but it's got starter bundle, Gems Pack 1, Gems Pack 2, Gems Pack 3, Gems Special Offer, and then fan points, energy medium, energy small, coins medium, and gems.
Yeah, what is it on the bestsellers page?
No, but I didn't, none of that's why I didn't download it. I didn't download it because of the data it collects.
Oh, what does it collect?
Purchase history, course location, user ID, and other usage data.
You don't need that shit.
No.
Has Mario and Sonic ever skeet shooted?
I don't think so. I want to see Mario with a gun.
I want to see Mario skeeting.
Beijing 2008 Mario and Sonic skeet shooting.
Oh! They did give Mario a gun.
Oh my goodness. Look at those guns, too.
They had to be very colorful, I guess.
Those guns look like they go...
So there you go. You can see Mario skeet in Beijing.
I think that's going to do it for Checkpoint. Reminder that everything we do here at Loading Ready Run is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Or, in the case of this, by becoming a member on this YouTube channel. Shoutouts to follow very shortly. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.